Hello and welcome to Window on the World. I am your host, Sukriti Brathoki, and today we're taking you on a journey through history, one that is both deeply educational and emotionally powerful. Recently, a professor and two students from Missouri Southern State University had the incredible opportunity to take part in the 80th anniversary of the Long March, a 60-mile journey walked by prisoners of war in Poland and Germany and exploring significant sites from World War II. This trip was made possible by the McCaleb Peace Initiative, a program founded by Kenneth McCaleb, a graduate of Joplin Junior College, the forerunner of Missouri Southern State University, and himself a prisoner of war who made the Long March his vision to ensure that students can witness history firsthand, learning from the past to build a more peaceful future. Today, we'll visit with those who commemorated the Long March. Joining me first today is Dr. Steve Wagner, a history professor at MSSU and the leader of the remarkable journey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you for being here. So, Dr. Wagner, this trip was founded by the McCaleb Peace Initiative, founded by alumni and prisoner of war hero Kenneth McCaleb. Unlike other trips funded by the initiative that has a personal tie to McCaleb, explain that connection for us, like how this all happened.
Yes, so the McCaleb Peace Initiative funds students who visit places in the world where there have been wars. But you're right, this one is unusual because we went to a place where Kenneth McCaleb himself was involved in the incident that we're commemorating.
Yeah.
So Kenneth McCaleb, like you said, was a graduate of Joplin Junior College. He graduated in 1941, and he was drafted into the U.S. Army. And just a short time after that, the United States entered World War II. And so he trained to become a navigator on an aircraft called a B-17, which is a bomber aircraft. And he flew missions from England over the Channel and into Germany. And it was on his 19th mission that he was shot down and taken prisoner. And he spent a year and a half as a prisoner at a Nazi prisoner of war camp called Stalag Luft III. And it was from that prison camp that the Long March took place. So we had this great opportunity. Robert McCaleb was Kenneth McCaleb's son, and he contacted us because he had heard about this 80th anniversary commemoration, and he asked if we would like to bring students to the event.
Oh, so it was his son?
His son contacted us. His son, Robert, wanted to go on the trip with us, but was unable to go. So we were happy that we were able to represent his family on the trip.
Yeah, that's an honor for all.
Very much.
Yes. So what was the goal behind taking students to this Germany and Poland for the 80th anniversary of the Long March?
So the goal of the Peace Initiative is for students to learn about the effects that war have on people and places, and that way they'll come back and they will share this information with others. And Kenneth McCaleb hoped that that would help people realize the cost of war and that they would be less enthusiastic about war in the future.
I mean, it is actually like someone who was here way before and doing something for us, and to get to learn about it, it's amazing. Actually. So that this year marked the 80th anniversary of the Long March. One of the most harrowing experiences for prisoners of war during World War II. So can you explain the significance of the Long March?
So the Long March took place beginning in January of 1945. What was happening is the war was coming to an end, and the Soviet military was approaching the prisoner of war camp from the east. And the Nazis were afraid that the Soviet army was going to liberate the camp. And so the Nazis forced these prisoners of war to march, as you said before, 60 miles to the west in an attempt to escape capture.
Okay, so...
And so there were about 11,000 prisoners who participated in the march. They were mostly Americans, British, and Australians. but there were many other nationalities as well. Some of these prisoners of war had been imprisoned for as long as 4 or even 5 years. Caleb had been there about a year and a half.
Okay.
And they marched from Sagan, which is now in Poland, but at the time it was part of Germany, and they marched all the way to another German city called Spremberg, which is about 62 miles away.
Okay.
And they did it over the course of about 3 days.
Oh, so that is what the long march is like,
That
that 62 miles?
Yes, yes.
Well, that must be horrific.
Once they arrived at this German city, Spremberg, they went by train to another German city, Nuremberg. Many of them were later forced to march to another city called Moosburg. That was a longer march, but they took longer to do it, and they were ultimately liberated there by Allied forces.
Oh.
So that's when they got their freedom.
Oh my God, all of this is so like interesting because we've only heard of it,
Right.
and you guys actually got to witness it. So
Right, and so we recreated this march, but of course we did it. We were well fed and we were well dressed, and the weather was pretty good. These POWs did it after many years as prisoners. They were malnourished, they were not dressed appropriately, and the weather for them was often below zero, and there was deep snow for much of the march. So we got to have like some idea of what it would have been like, but nothing even close to what these men went through.
yeah, so yeah, that's something that we never think of until we've been there, and nobody
Right.
has been there. So
Right.
so walk us through your itinerary while there. So what were some of the key sites you visited?
Okay, well, we flew into Berlin, and so we were able to spend a couple of days in Berlin, and so me and the students got to see some of the sights of Berlin, and so we saw what was left of the Cold War Berlin Wall, and we saw the Brandenburg Gate, and just many of the famous sights of Berlin, before then going by bus to the city in Poland called Sagan, and that's where the prisoner of war camp was, Stalag Luft 3. There's a museum there, and the foundations of many of the buildings in the camp where the prisoners were kept are still visible there. So we spent some time at the museum and with the curator of the museum, and he showed us around. And then the next day we went off on the march. There were about 150 military personnel who made the march, and then 30 or so family members of these POWs, the sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters of these men who did the original march.
Yeah.
And so each day we went about 20 miles of the walk, and then in the evenings we actually got to stay in a 15th century Polish castle.
Oh my
Where
God.
we ate and slept the night, and then started off again the next morning.
Yeah, well, all of this sounds like it came straight out of a movie.
It does. Yeah. I was very fortunate to be able to go, and the students I know were thrilled to be able to go.
Yes, because like whenever I'm hearing it right now, it would be a whole like a new life experience, to just be there, present. And you said you were with the families of POWs, so
Yes.
that must be like, to be connected that sort of like very close.
Right.
Was that a new experience, and was that something that you expected it to be, or?
It was a great experience. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, we learned as much about Kenneth McCaleb as possible before we went, so that we could share his information with the other family members. But meeting them and feeling this connection that they had with their grandfather or father, and in one case, great-grandfather, it was really moving that they wanted to experience in some way what their relative had experienced. And so the students, one thing that they did was interview many of these family members, and they're writing articles about it that are going to appear in the Joplin Globe in the coming weeks.
Oh.
So it was a great opportunity for them to
Yeah.
talk directly to those family members.
Yes, I mean, for the students as well, it's one of like a really nice experience. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just as like I've not known much about, but then to however I know about history, I just feel like that is like one-time experience for life.
Yes, and neither of them had ever traveled very much outside the
Okay,
country, so it was
so
a new
yeah.
experience for them. One of the students, Raylan, is going to be a history teacher, a high school history teacher,
Oh,
so
okay.
she'll be able to share this information with her students in the future. And I think both of them, Kylie and Raylan, will both benefit from it quite a bit.
Oh, okay. I mean, that would be a very great thing for her too.
Hmm.
So, how did seeing these sites impact your understanding of hardships that POWs endured?
That's a great question. I mean, we of course know that people are taken prisoner during war, but to be able to see where they were kept and sort of kind of learn firsthand about their experiences it's very moving. I mean, we ask so much of
Yeah.
these young men. I mean, Kenneth McCaleb was in his early 20s at the
Oh,
time. We ask so much of these young men and women, and so it makes it real to you. It's not just something that you're reading about in a textbook. It becomes more real
yeah.
to you, and you think more about the cost of war.
Yeah. So yeah, because that's what I was talking about. Like we hear about it, because
Hmm.
being there, it would actually make you feel a little bit more than just reading it.
Yes.
So that's what I was really excited to know
Yeah.
about. So one of the most famous POW camps was Stalag Luft 3, as you
That's
said
right.
earlier as well. It was known for the Great Escape. What was
Right.
it like visiting the site?
Right. So you're right. The Great Escape happened in one of the camps there at Stalag Luft 3. We went to the area where that escape took place. All that's left of the buildings are just foundations, but there's a monument there. So what happened with this Great Escape, they were tunneling underneath the building and out underneath the fence of the camp, and their plan was to have 200 prisoners escape. But then what happened was while they were planning the escape, the electricity went out and it forced them to sort of enact their plan sooner than they had expected. And so 74 prisoners went through this 200-foot tunnel, and only 3 of them managed to actually escape. They made it back into Allied territory. The rest were captured, and of those who were captured, 50 of them were executed. And so there's a memorial at the site, and it has the names of all of the 74 who attempted escape. And then there's also a monument there for those who were executed as a result of their attempt.
Oh no.
So
So yeah.
it's an escape attempt that a lot of people know about from the famous movie The Great Escape. Steve McQueen, James Garner, a
Yeah.
lot of people my age and older have seen that film. Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I've not seen
Yeah,
that.
it's worth finding. It's a good one.
Yeah, because that sounds an interesting movie to, watch it. But, so did someone make through it, like 3 or something? Because I feel like,
3 actually escaped and made it to Allied territory. Those who weren't executed were sent back to prison, and a few of the family members who were with us on this trip, their relatives had participated in this escape. This one man, Bob Nelson, his son and grandson were there, and so they were able to see his name on the monument, and so kind of see where that had happened to him.
okay, so, I mean, so you got to hear this all from the real family members of POW, so that must be an interesting journey. Well, how did students react to this? And they saw the actual location of such an historic event too. So you being a mentor for them, and
Yeah.
also not knowing, being there for the first time as well. So how
Right.
did that experience go?
I think that they had a great experience. I was really proud to be there with them. I think they did a great job. There were about 7 students who applied for the chance to come on this trip, but we could only take 2.
Oh,
And so the 2 that we chose, we felt like we had made a good choice, and we had. I mean, they exceeded my expectations at
yeah.
every step of the journey. They were both very positive and had very positive experiences. So I think they did great, and I'm glad that you're going to get a chance to talk to them.
Yeah, that's what I'm quite excited to talk to Raylene
Yeah.
too. So you visited both Germany and Poland, as you said earlier.
Yes.
How did your experiences differ in each country? And how was your stay in Berlin and Poland? And,
Yeah.
and what were some of the memorable moments you would take for the rest of your life?
Well, one thing that I think was really interesting is that there's no border control between Germany and Poland. I mean, we went back and forth across the German-Polish border 4 different times. So crossed the border 8 times altogether. Nobody ever checked our passport. Nobody ever said, who are you? Where are you going?
Yeah.
It's a completely open border. So that was surprising to me. I thought there would at least be
Some kind of.
some kind of control there where you show your passport or something.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised by that. And that, of course, is because Poland and Germany are both part of the European community.
Yeah.
You could notice, I think, a bit of an economic difference between Germany and Poland. Germany is much more economically prosperous than Poland is. And you can see some of that just in the towns that we passed through in Poland versus the ones that we passed through in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where I belong from, so I'm a country called Nepal, so we don't have borders. Nepal and India are, I mean, we do have borders in China, but we don't have borders in India and Nepal. So I'm
Right.
quite familiar with what you said.
Sure.
So it's just like 2 people from different nationality coming in, being like brothers and sisters.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a fun experience too.
Yeah. I had visited Germany when I was a student.
Oh,
And at that time, this was in the 1990s, I crossed the border into what was then Czechoslovakia.
oh.
And the border control was very strict in those days, passports and exchanging of money. So I'm glad that things have changed so much for the better now.
Yeah, and I also heard that many European countries don't have borders. So in that
Right.
sense, it
Yeah.
do make sense on
Yes.
that. So after experiencing these historical sites firsthand, what was the most powerful takeaway for you, Dr. Wagner?
Well, I think the most powerful thing for me was the meeting with the families and talking to the families and seeing how touched they were by reliving the experiences of their fathers and grandfathers.
Yeah.
That to me was more than any sort of geographic site that we saw or historic site.
Yeah.
Just hearing their stories and learning about their relatives and what they went through. It was a beautiful, I mean, it wasn't for the POWs, obviously, but for us, it was a beautiful walk, through Polish countryside and through small towns. And I mean, every time in the past that I've visited another country, I've always been in a big city.
Yeah.
And so this is really the first time I've gone to another country
Countryside,
and
yeah.
just walked through the countryside and gone through small towns and things like that. So I'll definitely remember it because of that.
Yes. So can you tell us about McCaleb's legacy and why this initiative is so important?
So after the war, he was finally liberated in a place called Moosburg, Germany. And so then he got to come home, and he shortly after that was married, and he became a successful engineer, and he maintained his ties with Missouri Southern.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to do something for the university that would make our students more aware of the cost of war and to give them a chance to travel to some of these places. And so he gave money to found this McCaleb Peace Initiative, which we've had, I think, since the early 1990s. And so it's given a lot of different students an opportunity to travel and see the world and to come back and write articles for the local newspaper about their experiences.
Yeah.
So Kenneth McCaleb died in 2002, but his legacy lives on through that peace initiative and through his living family as well.
Well, yes, it was really nice talking to you, Dr. Wagner. Thank you so much for being at our show. We will now take a short break. After a break, we will be back with Raylene Downey, a student of MSSU who also visited with Dr. Wagner and will share her side of this historical journey. Welcome back to Window on the World. We are joined by Raylene Downey and Kylie Chivero, MSSU students who visited Germany and Poland with Dr. Wagner for the Long March and is now here to share how the trip went for them. Welcome to our show, Raylene and Kylie.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
for coming. So let us start with Raylene by talking with how you first felt when you knew about this trip and that you're going outside of the United States and to a place where you only read in books.
Yeah, so definitely excited and nervous at the same time. I wasn't sure that I wanted to go. I knew that I liked the idea of going and that it was something that intrigued me, obviously, but this is my first time out of the country. So I went home and talked to my parents and told them about the trip and that I was thinking about going. And then once I made the decision, I was pretty set on going and was really excited to be selected to go.
Well, yeah. So what about you, Kylie? Because I heard it was 7 or 8 of you guys who actually applied to it.
Yeah.
So being the number 2 who actually could go to this historical place, what did you feel about that?
I was pretty excited, but nervous because it's be the first time I've ever been so far away from home.
Yeah.
But it was very once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yes, indeed. Before going, what were your expectations and did anything surprise you along the way?
Yeah, so before we went, I feel like you kind of feel this way too. We didn't have a lot of expectation going into it. I mean, we knew we were going for the Long March commemoration, right? But we didn't know necessarily how many people of the families were going to be there. We didn't realize how much military was going to be there. I mean, we had an itinerary, but as far as knowing exactly what we were going to do, I felt like we didn't quite know. Did you feel that way where you didn't have a lot of expectation going into it?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was looking forward to.
Yeah. So I don't know to put it that way, I guess everything was a surprise. No, because we didn't have really much expectation going into it. But it turned out great, and it was a great trip.
Yes, because now that I've already talked to Dr. Steve, he told us and that this was possible by McCaleb Peace Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it feel to be part of something created by a prisoner of war hero and becoming part of the legacy by taking part in the march?
Yeah, I think Kylie feels the same about this too, that we didn't know a lot about prisoners of war before we knew about the trip.
Yeah.
It's not really something that you come across a lot in history, like in regular history class, right? So it was interesting to dive into that and then to learn more about McCaleb. And I recently wrote an article about him and dove more into his story and how he was drafted into the military at a very young age, right? So diving into all of his training and everything, and then going on that long march. And even after that, he wasn't liberated. He was sent to another camp even after that. So it was really eye-opening to see that and to walk in those footsteps and understand how difficult that long march was just a really interesting experience.
Yeah. Do you feel the same about it?
Yeah, and he also, I guess, didn't this is the first time he's ever had somebody go to where he was at.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's been like other places like Vietnam or something like that. So it was really interesting to see actually what he went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you guys think that opportunities like this is very important for students?
I mean, for history students, it's definitely it gives you a chance to have that immersive learning experience, you know. And I think that as a history student, I'm sure everyone have a good appreciation for it, but as being people that are interested in history, it was just amazing, like once in a lifetime opportunity, right? But I mean, just the initiative itself is the goal is to travel to places and be able to discuss like why preventing war is a good thing and not wanting something like that to happen again and understanding the consequences of the war and how that can impact a country for years to come, right? So just that aspect is really rewarding.
Yeah, it must be like very historical and just to be present there.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because in Germany it's like almost as if you would be surprised how much the German people have come to terms with it a little bit, I would say, where it's not such like a hot button topic, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously like Hitler was the one that was like running Germany, so you would think that it would be a little more sensitive. I mean, that's what I would think, but it's not, and they do a great job of. I mean, like having museums and being able to educate people about it. It's not something that is like pushed to the side. It's something that they recognize in their history and take the moment to educate people about.
Yeah. So during this trip, you also visited the Barnes, an important yet lesser known part of history. So can you tell us a little about what was that like? And I've heard that you will be writing articles, as you said earlier too, for the newspaper about your journey and what remains from what time in the war, what will be the focus of your articles and all that.
Yeah, I'll let you take the question about the Barnes.
I'm one of my articles is that I'm just writing about like where the prisoners were slept at and how the families felt like being there. And for the barn specifically, it was by Wau and Anya. Yeah.
Yes.
And they, I guess, just poured their heart and soul to like restoring.
Yeah, they bought the property and are focusing on trying to restore it and turn it into a museum at some point. That's their end goal. I mean, obviously it's going to take some funding along the way, but that's their end goal. So
yeah. So yeah, that must be interesting, as I had talked to Dr. Steve about it too, and it was too that a Polish couple were taking care of the barns, and that's very historic. Well, I also heard that you guys stayed in a castle at Poland. So,
yes, we
so
did.
was it like a historical experience or like a fairy tale? Because for me, I would like, oh my God, feel like a princess.
You would think that it would be a fairy tale, but also at the same time it's a very old castle.
Oh,
And you can tell it was old, but it was also really cool because it's still a castle, right? The one thing that was it was a little spooky. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little spooky feeling.
yeah.
But they also, I think the reason for that was because they had like motion sensor lights in the hallway. So if you didn't walk fast enough, it would just be like pitch black for a second, and then you'd be like, "Oh no, we gotta get to the next sensor."
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but
because in the morning it feels like a princess, but at night it can be haunted too. You never know.
yeah, but it was really pretty, and just seeing like the architecture of it was really cool.
Well, yeah.
And they had still had Christmas decorations up, so that was cool too.
Yeah, we were trying to figure that out. Did we ever figure out the Christmas decoration?
I like Googled it, and they have something called Candlemas that they celebrate till like January 2nd, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, there was like a courtyard, and it was like it was interesting.
So yeah, so there have been a lot of historical things like the Great Escape. Do you have something to say? Like, you know, if you would like to say that experience in one word about all this, what would you say?
Oh gosh, I mean, just the once in a lifetime. I can't get once in a lifetime out of my head because, I mean, to have a trip that was so kindly funded by this initiative is, I mean, there's never going to be an opportunity like that again. And to be selected for that and have the opportunity to travel across the world to do that was amazing.
Yes. Yeah. What about you, Kylie?
Yeah, it was amazing and definitely a core memory.
Yes.
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much, guys.
Yeah,
thank you, Raylene. Thank you, Kylie. With that, we come to an end of this episode, but we will be certainly back with another exciting episode of Window on the World, where you get to learn about the world and more. I am your host, Sukriti Brathoki. Until then, thank you and goodbye.